What's up, everybody? I'm Zach at IPFRacing. Now that I've got the 3D scanning done on the wagon, I'm gonna get it up on the quick jacks and start pulling the wheels off, and then the brakes, and then the shocks. That way I can test fit the new big brake kit, and then also test fit for what size wheel I need, what offset for the wide body. So I'm gonna grab the quick jacks, and then I'll get to it. Skirt. I hope someone's like, that's not how you're supposed to route the line for your quick jacks. Go up, fatty. Is it going anywhere? Mint. NASCAR. 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 No wonder F1 uses center locks. I think they both use center locks now. I bet these weigh a ton. Oh, they don't. Dope. Does anybody want some drag wheels? Like, that strut's toast. Okay. So I gotta disconnect the sway bar end link right here, and then so this nut, and then I gotta take off this one, and then the strut will push in and down and around and come right out, in theory. Should get a tool sponsorship. Oh my God, that's never happened. That ball joint, ow, that hurt. Ow, that really hurt. Never wants to come out. Okay, well, cross that bridge when I get to it, I guess. Yeet. Bro, come on. It's not amateur hour over here. Yeet. Washers for days. Put your nuts and bolts back together so you don't lose them, kids. Tech tip. Like, don't touch your brake rotor. Like, we're replacing them. It's fine. Yeah, there we go. Now we're talking. I've done things before. Okay. So now, on the sway bar and link. I told you it would just come right out. Look at that. Okay. So now if I do this, then put this guy back on here. So the reason why I'm taking the spring off and putting the strut back in is because when I put this on air suspension, the ride height is going to be significantly lower when I air down, which means let all the air out of the bags, right? So the ride height just falls. And I want to make sure that when I do that, the wheels, whatever offset and size I pick, sit really well inside the line of the wide body. So there's gonna be an extra like 40 millimeters here, which is like just over 1.5 inches of extra, you know, wide body goodness. And I want the wheel to be pew pew right here, so it looks sick. So I'm gonna put this back together now-ish, push it all the way up because there won't be a spring to push it out of the way. Use the wheel fitment measurement tool, figure out what size wheel offset I need. And then, that was gross. Now, and put the jack under here just to jack it up and keep it there. And then put the wheel fitment tool on. Just kind of do a little sweep, you'll see. This is just a 3D printed wheel fitment tool. It's got the same bolt pattern as the wheels I'm gonna buy. This was a free design. There's a bunch of like ones that you can buy that are already printed. They're kind of expensive, but essentially you got different size wheels that you can choose from. So bolt pattern, This gets you the diameter of the wheel. This gets you the width of the wheel, and then this whole part slides back and forth and tells you what offset you need for your wheel, which is really just where the mounting pad is in relation to the wheel center line. So I'm gonna put this on there, sweep it back and forth a bunch of times, figure out what size wheels to put on here. I know they're gonna be 20s, so that part's easy, but try to do this and see if it makes sense. Wow, look at that, crazy. Just put this nut back on here, just so it doesn't move. I arbitrarily picked 40 millimeters as like how much further out I wanted the body to go. So like the car is gonna grow 3 inches in width, right? So it's roughly 1.5 inches on either side. And I want the wheel lip, which is this little guy. Wow, that's rigid. To be right at that 40 millimeter mark. And so I'm just gonna put this here and do like straight edge down. And so it's like actually pretty spot on. Maybe come out like another 5 or 10 mil, or yeah, on the offset, and see what it looks like. So I don't know how well this will actually slide, but okay, pretty good. Just do some plus zeros, some truck wheels. Oof, that's really. I feel like I should go to like here, right? Kind of. I guess it depends on the tire, but. All right, so you can see this is a little bit farther apart. So now this is it was a 9.5. Now this is a 20 by 11. It's a big meaty honker wheel, but it does look like it clears the strut just fine. I think it's out a little bit too far, so let's find out where we're at. Oh yeah, so we're out a good ways. We'll push this guy in. We'll push this guy in. Good Lord. It's high quality printing over here. Oh, that's probably pretty money. And what is that? That is a plus 15, 20 by 11.
Your purse.
There's nothing to grab onto. That is out there.
Yeah.
Sick. It won't be with the wide body, but go backwards. All right, I gotta write that down before I forget my ADHD. And then we do the same thing in the back. We finished with the front. I'll pull the wheel fitment off tool in a minute, but I'm gonna pull this strut out after I disconnect the sway bar in the back. That way I can do the exact same thing, push the rear suspension up and down without having something in the way. Can you see what just happened?
No.
Yeet! Don't do that, kids. Stay in school. I went to school for a very long time to figure out how to do that. Words? Yeah. 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 Yay, rear strut. Probably also busted. Now I can loosely put together this rear lower arm again, and then grab the wheel fitment tool.
Who is this?
Okay. So again, wheel fitment tool. Got this jacked up with no strut in there. That way it can actually go all the way up like, ew, like it will with the bag on it. So that same wheel for the front, which would be the 20 by 11 plus 10, this is not good enough. So I think we're gonna have to go to a 12. Whoop, the whole ruler fits, that's a 12. All right, back on here. There's still clearance to the inside, so that part's good. All right. Do our little 40mm measurement guy. Boom, still not good enough. So, let's push this guy out. What are we at over here? That's plus 10. Is the other one plus 50? I didn't write down the number from the other one. It's on video.
Yeah.
All right, 40 is there. That seems pretty good. So this is a 20 by 12 plus 10, right? And I think the front one was a plus 15. There's clearly no rear bumper on here. I'm test fitting my hitches that are in production right now, but this sticks out really, really far. In the front, the wide body kit on this side that I'm working on, it swoops like way over the door down here. So like, good Lord. So now that I know the wheel size, I'm gonna keep taking the brakes and stuff off because I don't need to put the struts back on. I got coilovers on the way. And the big brake kit is here, so I can go ahead and get this off, get the V6 stuff sold to some guys that are gonna do drag radials. They normally run a 15-inch wheel. Gotta have tiny brakes to fit under there. So just be some more teardown for today. Okay, so big brake kit for this car is really simple. These are 5th gen Camaro Z01 calipers. They bolt on, apparently. We're about to find out for sure, but and they come with this gigantic rotor. It's not that big, but it is significantly bigger than what's on here. So I'm gonna pull this off and just set it off to the side so I can test fit this to make sure that it fits before taking them apart and then having them powder coated. There. Pull the rotor off. I don't need that where we're going. Look at that. Yeet. Whoa. Throw my back out. Yeah, this is big. Woo! That is gigantic. It's just huge. This is ridiculous. In the best way. It fits. Look at that. That's huge. Look at this guy compared to that. Ridiculous. Gonna do the same setup on the rear that we did on the front, test the new rotors and calipers. So I'm gonna pull all this off, lower it back down, take the rotor and caliper off, and see how that goes. All right, caliper. You can hang out. That'll do it. This dust shield's gotta go.
Oh.
It's hitting the dust shield. While test fitting the new rotor and the caliper, they hit the dust shield. This is like a known thing, but I didn't know how bad. Basically, I had to cut this whole lip off and then trim off some where the caliper goes. So I'm gonna use the body saw and probably annoy all my neighbors and cut up my one of 24 cars in the United States and make some big brakes fit. Gross. Loud, obnoxious, holy cow. All right, I'm gonna clean that up with a flap disc afterwards and get some paint on it so it doesn't rust. Fits. There we go. Yeah, perfect. Caliper. Ooh, sweet. Yeah, it fits. Look at that. All I had to do is cut up super rare car, but these Z01 calipers look sweet, so I'm gonna get those disassembled in another video and sent out to powder coat and then rebuilt afterwards. Now that the suspension's been disassembled from test fitting for the new wheels, it's time to start pulling the drivetrain out. And the easiest way to do that on this platform is to drop the front subframe with the motor and trans still attached. So I'm gonna start disconnecting the exhaust, drive shaft, draining fluids, making sure I got everything from the corner assemblies disconnected that's, you know, still be connected to the body. And then start slowly pulling stuff apart until I'm ready to drop it out. So let's get after it. The only thing still attached to these corner assemblies is this wire here for the wheel speed sensor for the ABS. So I'm gonna disconnect that on both sides, and then we should be good to go on the suspension. Boom, speed sensor. Put the bolt back in so I don't lose it, and I will hang up the ABS wire with the brake caliper over here. Next up is the exhaust, so let's do it. Moving that way. That was weird. I've never had an exhaust come apart this easy. That's not a thing here. For those that don't know, I'm in just outside of Detroit, so everything's just super rusty here normally, but the rest of the exhaust forward can stay on because it's going to come out with the motor and the transmission. So I just got to take out these hangers, and then the exhaust should be out. Exhaust is out. Next up, drive shaft. Gotta lift with your back. Gotta disconnect this Guibo coupler. And I don't know if I actually need to do more than that. I think the drive shaft will still sit up here because it's two-piece. It's bolted just a little further back. So I think if I undo these three, then when I drop the trans, it should just leave this guy here. So the only other thing to do back here to drop the motor and trans will be to drop this transmission mount. I'll do that at the end when I do the subframe mounts. All right, time to take out the front bumper. And that way I can drop things down, pull forward. Be good to go. Yeah, like all the harnesses are disconnected and whatnot. Perfect. Probably drain some fluids. Next, I dropped the transmission mount, and then I grabbed the pallet jack and a pallet, slid that under, dropped the wagon down, undid the subframe mounts, and then lowered the motor onto the pallet and pulled it out of the way. Pretty easy stuff, honestly. So I got the motor out, and I was playing around with, you know, whatever's left in here, trying to figure out things I could remove and try to make it cleaner, playing with some wire tuck ideas. So I pulled out this fender liner from over here, and we just, look at this. Look at, this is crazy. All of this was just packed behind the fender liner. There's some cigarette butts in here. This is just pretty, it's like, ugh, so wet and it's like composty. Gross. Oh, that's just solid dirt. We just got straight Australian soil in here. You can grow some kangaroos or whatever. But the other thing was, now that that's kind of cleaned out, the fender's obviously going to come off at some point. But I was like, whoa, trying to find some space in here. Like, there's this gap here. The ABS module is a little too big for that, but you know what it's not too big for? Look at this. There's so much space here, and this hole goes up to here, it goes to back there, and all of the brake lines are right on the other side of it. So that might be an interesting way to kind of wire tuck the ABS module. Is it safe to have it right behind the wheel? Probably not. But am I going to do it? Probably. After taking out that fender liner, I decided to come over here, do the same thing. And not near as much stuck in it, but there was this guy, which I realized it's the inlet for the air conditioning, and it's supposed to drain out all of the stuff that comes out of here in the wiper cowl. But then I got to thinking, I know a lot of people put like their coolant reservoir for their supercharger in here, and for some reason I was like, I don't want to do that. That's dumb. It's not dumb. If I crawl in here, I realize that this area is pretty big. It's the same as, you know, this area, obviously, because the left-hand drive side, all that stuff's over here. But I also noticed that at some point this goes from metal to plastic, and I'm curious if I can just take the plastic section off and still have the inlet for the air conditioning, because obviously I want that, but I don't know if there's enough room for me to be able to put my metal 3D printed tank that I'm going to design for the supercharger coolant, and the crankcase breather and the catch can. So if I can fit it up there and kind of take up that exact same space and same profile, I think that'd be really slick and still have, you know, the same design over there. So yeah, I'm gonna pull that off and see kind of what it looks like under there. All right, that was not so bad. Interesting. So essentially air comes through here, down into the side, around into here, and that's where all the debris collects. It's hard to see down there, but the debris collects down there, and then up and over this lip is down into where the cabin filter sits for the AC. So if I pull this out, I get from here all the way down to here of just real estate that I can seal off with another piece that replaces this, but is full of way more stuff than just air. And honestly, I think that might be worth it. Very, very cool. I think the other thing I was playing around with in here, the fuse box was sitting here, and it sits on like a big bracket that's bolted here, 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 and up here. And I don't want that. It's kind of ugly. And then also this harness is only going to that. And I think there's plenty of room behind the fender and up above the wheel, like behind this frame piece, where this can all tuck. And then the fuse box can sit somewhere in here. So I can still get to it, but will be a lot less just kind of obvious. And I think the coolant overflow might get redone also. All of this just making more work for myself, but I really want this to look good in here. So that way when you pop the hood, you're not like, oh, this is factory setup with an LSA. This whole big area over here, probably do some sort of like air box situation. The headlight ducts I 3D print replace the high beam, which is the smaller cover. And so that'll come right out here. And I can just seal off this whole area, put a filter on the other side. I know that was a long one, but I wanted to get the teardown done all in one video. So as you can see, teardown's done. Next week, I'm gonna start building the air suspension so you can find out why I cut a big hole in my trunk. And also, merch drops next week. So stay tuned. I'm Zach, this is IPF Racing. Like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.